Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to LaserBeam Live. This is episode number 29. I am your host, Ikenna Ofoha for CNC Labs. And you know the deal, whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, or night. I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me. Let's get started. What are we doing today? I am excited. I am excited. I am excited. I am excited. I have some very interesting and very, very exciting news to share with you. But first, let's say what up to the chat. Doug, he was here 4 hours early. You got to respect the dedication. Dana, we always appreciate you. Thank you very much for joining us. Kenny, I know he's not here, but he stopped in early to say hi. He does have to work. He's feeling better though. Jim, how you doing? Oh, Nicholas, let's go. How you doing? Good evening to you all. So let's just get right into the news. Oh, sorry about that. Let me tuck that for you. Hopefully that's better. No more crackling. Let's just get right into it. What is the news? First, let's talk about what the news is. Then we'll jump into the project. So we have officially started early development for a standalone CO2 laser. Yes. Rah, rah, yes. Confetti. Where's the confetti? But I don't have a confetti button. But that's what's happening in my head. We have officially started the very early development of a standalone CO2 laser, which is super exciting. It's been my dream ever since I started working here to develop a CO2 laser. But of course, the long mill was just so exciting to work on and so exciting to keep adding on and supporting and everything. And we will continue to do that. And then I had a chance to develop the laser diode, which is kind of me dipping my feet into the pond that is lasers. And that was super successful. We've sold a bunch of those. I support those to this day. But Dana says it won't stand alone in his shop. Confetti button. Yes, we need a confetti button. I got to talk to the people here. Hey, Dieter, how you doing? Hopefully you're doing good. But yes, the diode was kind of dipping my feet into the lasers to make sure that we could kind of handle that that section of project making. And now I think where the MK2 is, where our development team, our engineers are, I think we're ready to do something really cool, which is design a CO2 laser. The one complaint, even when I was, guys, I see your emails, I hear your messages. More power, more laser power. You love the laser, but more power. And I've seen it. Since the day we released the laser diode, I've been getting those emails for more power. But as you guys know, we move quick, yes, and faster, right? Speed and power are inversely related. Just because you have more power, if you can't move that thing, then you're going to be sitting there waiting. Like sometimes you've seen me waiting on this LaserBeam Live. My ethos when it comes to laser projects is that, or any kind of DIY machine making project, CNC, the whole thing, 3D printers, CNC routers, laser cutters, plasma cutters, is that your time, the time that the project has to run, is so influential on how you design, and what you actually end up making. And so power is cool, but yes, more speed. We are aiming, guys. Everything I say in this is just, we're announcing that we are working on it. And obviously, just like all of our projects, we will be posting updates on the project, and I will be updating you guys here. I'll even be designing certain things live in the next upcoming LaserBeam Lives. But everything I say here, take with a grain of salt, other than we are working on it. We actually are developing it. But everything else I'm going to talk about is just like my wishes, my wants, my thoughts. I just want to get it out there. But speed. My goal is 600 millimeters per second. The long mill is capped at 66 0.7 millimeters per second. So I am aiming for just about 10 times faster. And our diode is about 7 watts. I am aiming for about 60 to 80 watts CO2 laser. So not only 10 times faster, but 10 times the amount of power. And those are my goals. Whether that ends up coming to fruition, of course, development is going to develop, okay? There's always delays, there's always issues, but I think we can create something like that for you guys, for the people who want it, and to help bolster the brand. We want more people to come to us for more of these types of machines. And I think we're the company to make something really, really good, really high quality, and also very reasonable on price. And that has always been the goal of our company, and that has always been the goal when I develop something, is to make something very high quality, but also reasonable in price, because time is important, but also money is important, right? We don't want to break the bank, and we also want to complete our projects faster, right? We want more detail, we want faster output, right? You might be designing something and then you go to check the time and it's a 5-hour project and you just don't have that time. Well, now you're not going to make the project, or now you have to adjust and change what you wanted to make in the first place. And of course, we are all nimble, we're all makers, we all make it work. But to have a machine where you experience that feeling less, that is my goal. So I just wanted to let you guys know, we will be reworking the survey, and we will be sending that out to our email list. We'll start a CO2 laser specific email list. So for those of you guys who want the project updates, who want to stay up to date, who want to be like first on the list, then you guys will have access to that. We're working on it right now, and I hope to get out the survey and have the email list live by next week, so you guys can start filling it in. And same thing, some of you, if you guys check on one of the boxes, then that's going to allow me to reach out to you guys and have like a one-on-one chat, so that before we actually lock down any of our specs or anything like that, we know that we're actually making something that you want to use, that you would want to have in your shop. So that's kind of what we're doing moving forward. We'll probably have a skeleton of a prototype ready to go. And yeah, and then as we get farther down the development pipeline, we will start having kind of timelines and everything, pre-orders, all that fun stuff. We'll go through the whole process. So very excited. The LaserBeam Live is only going to get better from here. We're only going to be able to do bigger, better projects. And we kind of get to go back into like the prototyping phase. The last time we were prototyping something was the rotary axis, and that never made it to market because we ended up developing the Vortex, which ended up being an even better option for rotary needs. So this time, the whole, like myself and other engineers are also working on this. So this is not just like a solo project that I'm working on, which usually is how laser stuff gets developed. This is going to be a more collaborative effort. So we hope that we can kind of combine all of our ideas and all of our hard work to make something amazing. That is the goal. That is the announcement. And yeah, so in the next live stream, we'll probably be designing a enclosure, or I will have an enclosure kind of already designed for the long mill and laser, because we will be going to the Hamilton Woodworking Show and we want to show off the laser, but we want to make sure that it's safe. So HEPA filter, enclosure, and exhaust system. And these types of projects, you know, they kind of push us forward in terms of the development of a laser, because we will, a CO2 laser needs to be enclosed and you need the exhaust system. So these are types of projects that are happening on the back end here that will essentially allow us to push forward into the CO2 realm. So obviously your linear motion, obviously your laser, obviously enclosure and air filtration. Those are kind of, in my head, those are kind of the three staples of a CO2 laser. Linear motion, laser power and everything, and focusing, and then exhausting and cooling the CO2. So those are going to be the things we're working on. I'm excited that you guys are excited, and hopefully in the very near future, we'll be showing off a new product on this LaserBeam Live, and we'll be doing tutorials on a new product on our LaserBeam Live. So yeah, that is the news. Very excited. Stay updated. We will be pushing out kind of email list and survey so we can get your input before we start locking down any specific specifications or anything about the look of the machine or anything. So yeah, let's jump into a project. So 2 live streams ago, I went through with you guys and we played with this feature here, device settings, and we went to fast white space scan. So essentially, when your laser is moving and it's not engraving, we can set it to a higher speed than what you would actually set it in your file for engraving or cutting, right? Which should be able to speed things up. So I was curious. I want to know how fast we could speed things up. I kind of want a percentage like this, because if it's a high enough percentage, then we should push this out as hard as we can and make sure everybody who's using a laser has the setting. But if it's only like, you know, 1% or 2%, or it's very nominal, then use it if you want and don't use it if you don't want. So I was just curious. I wanted to run something so that we can kind of test it, and we can kind of go back to basics on like just setting up super simple projects and going from there. So let's start by first setting it to a normal engraving speed, which is about 25 millimeters per second. That's probably what I'm going to be using today. So let's keep it there, and then let's design a project that will run in a few minutes, and then let's run it twice. Let's raise the white space pass speed, and then we will test and see which one's finished faster, and we can do some easy mathematics, and we'll find out a percentage so that you guys kind of know how like, is this feature worth using on every project, or is it kind of just something you maybe throw on and leave it, or maybe you just don't even need to touch it. Let's find out the efficacy of this setting. We're just doing normal projects. So I want to keep it kind of simple. So I'm going to start with a box, and then I'm going to use the framing tool so that it doesn't actually, so anything that we do in this box or the box itself won't be engraved or cut. It's on a framing tool, and that's just the last two. Two colors. So the orange, the deep orange labeled T1, and the teal labeled T2 essentially will not actually output any laser stuff. So I'm just going to use it to size things up and make a box. And then we want it probably, we don't want it too small. Well, that's another question. I'm going to be running this thing in GSender. So if we see no change, then that means that it only works in LightBurn. But I'm going to be running it. I assume I know it works in LightBurn, but let's see if it works in GSender. So today that's kind of the extra component of the test that we'll be running it in GSender. So we'll actually get to see, does it even work in GSender? So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to make the project pretty long and not too tall, so that we can do maybe some text over here and then some text over there. So millimeters, we probably want it maybe 50, maybe 100, probably maybe 150. So we want this thing, oh, not the width, we want that maybe 20, and then we want oh, we just have to take that off. So we want the height at 20 millimeters, and then we want the width at 150, let's say. So let's zoom out and see what that looks like. Okay, that looks pretty reasonable. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to add text on one side, add text in the middle, and then add text at the end. So we're going to do a little test here. And we're going to change the color so that this actually engraves, and we're going to put fill. And then we're just going to copy and paste this. Oh. We are going to copy and paste this. And we're going to put it around the middle. And then we're going to copy and paste it again, and we're going to put it around the end. And we're just going to put it at different heights, so forcing the machine to move in the X and the Y. There we go. So this is the normal, the white space setting in device settings here. And right here, we just enabled it, and then we selected 25. So let's go ahead and export this. So we save G-code, and we save it as a .nc file. So let me get to the file, and we save as fast white space, fast white space, version 1. All right. So let's go ahead and open up that G-code file in GSender. And let's go ahead and find it. FW, looking for an FW. Here we go. .nc. And as we can see the text here, so we're going to 0 all. We're going to turn on our driver. We are going to go to dip switch level 1, just so that we can focus without burning our material. We're going to double check our EEPROM settings. So we want to double check $30, should be 255, 31 is 1, and we are enabled. So we are all good. I'm just going to go back, and guys, the reason why we double check our EEPROM settings is because S value max should always match our $30 value. So that's what we just checked. S value max, 255, $30, 255. We're all good. So on the power test here in GSender, I put it to 2%. I use the laser on. This percentage only affects your laser testing. So it does not affect the actual job that you're running, so you don't have to worry about that. I am just gonna set my height here. And my height is pretty good. I'll probably just drop it down a few millimeters here. Looks good. And I'm just gonna turn it on so that I can double check the focus. Sorry. So it looks good to me. And then now I'm just gonna go back and change my dip switch to 5. So I'm gonna start the job. Make sure you're always using your safety glasses before you start a job or before you focus your laser. I'm gonna start it, and we wanna keep our eye on the time, okay? Because we are now comparing time here. So let's start it up. I'm gonna stop the job. I just wanna double check my, yes, so we're running way too slow. So I figured something was up. So let's just resave that. Fast white space, space, V1. Sorry guys, I'm just gonna go to 0 again. Just make sure nothing changed here. We're all good. And I'm gonna just load up the new file, which my engraving should be running at 25 millimeters per second. That's what I just changed it to. And then the white space speed is gonna be 25. So it should not be accelerating at all during the entire job. All right. Actually, all right. let's, I'm gonna assume it's this one. Maybe it's not though, we'll see. That seems a lot faster. There we go. So we are looking at time. So time elapsed. The remaining might be a little inaccurate, so we're just gonna keep we're gonna keep an eye on time cutting. Okay? Because it's estimating, it might be wrong, so we're not looking at this, we're looking at the time that's actually elapsed. So we're down about 57 seconds. So how are you guys doing in the chat? We're gonna keep our eye on the time, but let's see what's happening. Are you guys excited for a CO2 laser? Is this something you guys actually want? Or do you guys just send tickets and then you guys are... Why the mill buzzes sometime? I believe it's just like the friction slash the... Yeah, I believe it's just the friction of certain parts like the lead screws. And because it's metal, it makes like depending on the frequency and the density and all that fun stuff, it makes like a certain sound. Yeah, I think it's honestly just the anti-backlash nut, and like it's like the force stopping abruptly, and that like makes a sound against the plastic, like the metal lead screw stopping abruptly on the Delrin nut. I believe that's it, or it could be the Delrin nut stopping abruptly on the aluminum frame. It's almost like when you hit your brakes really fast, like you're gonna make a sound. All that extra force usually gets dissipated to heat, right, when you're braking, but some of it does get dissipated into like sound and frequency. You always thought it lost space, but never did. Yeah, exactly. It's almost like hitting something. Like when you change the direction, there's like an abrupt stop, and that's that like momentum change, almost like creates like enough force to make a sound against the Delrin nut. I could be wrong. I'm gonna ask some of the engineers tomorrow and see if I can come up with a more scientific answer to that, because what I just said was definitely not. I might even be correct, but I'm definitely not explaining it correctly. So let's talk about CNCs in general. CNCs in general. So computer pneumatic control. So you have a computer, you're making code. You need to send it to a controller that can interpret that code. So that's our long board. You have a microcomputer that can interpret the code and then send those signals to motor drivers on the long board. Those motor drivers take that signal and tell a stepper motor to move X amount at X speed for X distance. Well, distance would be just speed and amount, like amount of force, amount of spin, and for what duration. And then you have the mechanical, like CNC itself, which is linear motion, right? So if you ever used a 3D printer, their form of linear motion usually is a belt, lead screw, or belt, linear guide, or belt, ball screw. Ball screw for a 3D printer would kind of be overkill, but yeah. So on our CNC, your linear motion is essentially a stepper motor coupled to a lead screw, and the lead screw is moving your gantries and telling it what to do. So you send code from your computer to your longboard. The longboard interprets that code and is able to send those signals out to the stepper motors, and the stepper motors are able to move, which because of the linear system, the linear movement system, actually moves your router, which is attached to it. So CNC is kind of a catch-all term. And so essentially what we have is the same thing, but now we're adding a CO2 laser to the end of it rather than a diode laser, rather than a router. So our controller has to be able to output more speed, right? Which you guys will even see that with the super longboard. It's capable of taking in code and outputting signal to the stepper motors at a quicker frequency. And the only thing that changes between a long mill and, let's say, a CO2 laser is the type of linear motion. So on a router, on a CNC router, you need more rigidity, right? You don't want backlash. You don't want like your router moving because you don't want any deflection, right? So you have to build it more robust, more physically robust, right? Which limits the speed, right? You choose to use lead screws, you can't go as fast. There's a reason why 3D printers and laser cutters move a lot faster and neither use ball screws or lead screws, right? But because they don't have a very heavy tool on the end of it, like an extruder or a CO2 laser or a lens or a focusing lens for a CO2 laser, doesn't actually produce that much weight and doesn't actually touch or fight against any forces in terms like a router and a bit. So you can move these things way faster with the same level or higher accuracy, and that's the only difference, right? So it's essentially, it will be a long mill, but with belts and linear guides if we decide to go that route, but it'll just be moving a lot faster because it's lighter. So the CO2 tube itself, you're essentially energizing CO2 gas with electricity, and when you energize CO2 gas, it creates a lot of heat, and it also produces plasma, which can be directed and focused, and that is the laser itself. So energized CO2 gas essentially creates plasma, which is a laser that's fired out. You bounce it against a few mirrors and then focus it in order to get it down to your work area, essentially. So with a CO2 glass tube, you do need water cooling because it produces so much heat, and your glass could crack if you let the heat build up. You will lose power in terms of how much laser power you're actually producing out of that glass tube if you don't cool it down. So essentially you need to pump water through your actual glass tube, which is usually why you have a water cooling system. Oh, we're almost done. 8:15. Oh, it's doing 2 passes. I'm going to stop it. We'll call it 8:15. So before I continue my explanation, it's doing 4 passes. So let's change that to 1 pass, and let's change this to 66, which is the max speed of the long mill. So 8 minutes and 15 seconds is the time to beat, if it even beats that time, because we don't know yet if this feature is transferred over to the G Center. It should be, because all it is speed and movement, right? So it should be just in the G code, telling it to move faster when it's not actually engraving. Space V2. So let's run that. Let's see if we can beat 8 minutes and 15 seconds. And then I'll get back to the explanation of what is a CO2 laser. FW, I'm looking for FW. Am I blind or? Oh, maybe it was in downloads. Nope. Okay, let's resave it. And then let's actually pay attention of where we saved it. FW, yeah, it should be here. Let's see if we can load it. Where is desktop, LaserBeam Live, FWV2. All right. So let's go back home and let's start this job. So let's see if we go faster. I feel like it's already going faster in between the letters. Hello, Hans. How you doing? Yeah, so where was I? So plasma shooting out the CO2 glass tube, energized CO2 creates plasma. That's the laser, bounces off some mirrors and gets pointed down towards your work material. So much heat that you need to essentially water cool it. More expensive lasers in the range of like $30,000 to $50,000 will actually use, I believe it's called RFM, which is essentially metal ceramic laser tubes, and everything's air cooled, but those are very expensive. Hopefully this kind of laser gives us a chance to do some cool like R&D and look into like metal laser tubes and ceramic laser tubes and stuff like that. So that's something that we can look at in the future. Yeah, I feel like it definitely is faster. Even I thought it was going to be like between the words that we were going to see everything speed up, but it's actually in between every letter. Anytime it's not engraving, it's moving way faster. So let's see what the time difference is, because we're almost halfway done, and it's only been 1 minute and 25 seconds. Guys, this is incredible. If it ends up being like half the time, guys, this is the feature to use. Turn it on, use it for every project. It won't affect what like you're actually engraving, because while it's engraving, it's using your speed and your power settings. The only thing that's changing is the speed when the laser's not engraving. That's when it's considered white space, right? So we're 50% done. It's 2 minutes and 27 seconds. So I think we'll hit 5 minutes. The project's done, which is probably like 60% of the original time. Which is amazing. Yeah, so that's pretty much what a CO2 laser is. Because you don't need the same type of rigidity that you would for a router, you can move a lot faster. Because we're using a glass CO2 tube instead of a diode, we can produce power levels between 40 watts and 150 watts if you get into the highest ends glass tube lasers. And yeah, you use a similar electronic system, either something like the super longboard in order to achieve higher speeds, because it can process faster, it can read signals faster, and it can output those signals faster. Or you go off the shelf. One of the best laser control hardware company is called Ryuta. If you're even slightly familiar with CO2 lasers, you know that pretty much every industrial laser uses a Ryuta, because they're just very reliable and they're kind of just a workhorse, and you kind of don't want to reinvent the wheel there. Maybe one day we'll reinvent the wheel, but I think that might be the most plausible, but you never really know. It all comes down to price versus performance. And yeah, so it's very similar to a long mill. It's very similar to like a long mill with a diode, except we're using a different source of laser power, and we're using a different type of linear motion system. And then the accessories is essentially you need to exhaust it, because you can, in a well-ventilated area, you can get away with using the laser diode without an exhaust. But a CO2 laser, because of the more power, you will produce way more smoke. So we do need to have a built-in kind of exhaust system, or like an accessory exhaust system. You do need to have the water cooling system, pumping water through the tube. And then you do need to have, you can even have a water chiller system to make sure that the water that's being pumped through is staying ridiculously cool, so that you can literally run your laser tube all day, all night, if you have a good water chiller to keep that thing cool. No, it actually doesn't. You get that through like the water and the, sorry, you do not need a supply of CO2. So don't worry about that. You don't need a supply of CO2. You just need the water, you need the electricity, and that's it. 5 minutes on the dot. It's 5 minutes on the dot versus 8 minutes and 15 seconds. Okay, let's do the math. Let's do 5 divided by 8.25, which is 8 minutes and 15 seconds. So 60% of the time, we saved 40% of our time running it this way. Guys, if you haven't used this feature, please go to LightBurn. I'll show you guys how to do it right now. You go to device settings, you enable fast white space scan, and you set it to the maximum speed of our machine, which is 66 millimeters per second. If you're using a different, like inches per second or inches per minute or millimeters per minute, do the conversion, because 66.7 millimeters per second is the max speed of the long mill. There's no point of inputting speed faster than that. It might even cause issues in the software. So just set it to 66.7 max, and you will, I made this project specifically to take advantage of a setting like this, but it still saved us 40% time difference. Like there was a 40% time difference just enabling this feature. So guys, definitely use this feature. Test it out on your own stuff, because maybe it's not perfectly made to be as fast with this feature, but I would assume that you'd probably still get some really good time savings. Yeah, this is actually incredible. Yeah, that's really cool. Okay. Sorry, let me put back up the chat. Is time even linear? 5 projects, that is significant. Yeah, X5, like a great time saver, Doug says. Bills, thanks for the explanation. No problem. Jim, were you using Air Assist? No, I actually wasn't. I unplugged my Air Assist because I'm engraving. And when you're engraving, Air Assist really only pushes the char in one direction. If I was cutting, I would definitely turn it on. Greg, that's very cool to hear. I also think it's very interesting. Very passionate about CO2 lasers. And I would be very excited to see one come to life. And I think if we do it kind of the way we release most of our projects, I think it'll be very interesting. And I think it'll be very useful, and I think it'll be very, like, it'll be a huge value add in the market, right? Like, very similar to how long mill came in, when a lot of other companies were charging a lot higher prices for maybe a worse project, maybe just a slightly better product, but they were charging way too much. We came in with a great value add of very high quality, very simple, and very good price. And I think we can do that the same thing for the CO2. So guys, this was a short stream, very short stream, but we got right to business. After the last couple streams, it's good to just like have a project or have a feature just work perfectly, and we ended up just having great results with it. Like I will tell any person I know, will probably write up a whole resource section. And again, thank you, Scott, for finding this and bringing it to my attention and kind of pushing me to try it out on stream. Yeah, I'm very excited. This is like awesome. Thank you so much, Dana. We appreciate you. I know everybody in the chat appreciates you. Go check out Bucky's Customs. That's Dana in the chat. And go check out his tutorials because he has a bunch of tutorials. He has cool projects. He's always doing something interesting. Check out his Instagram. He's definitely doing interesting stuff with the long mill and in his shop. Definitely check out his content. He's like just awesome. He's always willing to help, and he helps me. He literally helps me live on stream, or he'll email me after a stream with a fix or a thing. So go check out Bucky's Customs. Watch him. If you guys get sick of our faces here at CNC Labs, then there's a more handsome face there, Dana, Bucky's Customs, to teach you how to use the long mill and laser and all that fun stuff. So Hans asks, how would the CO2 be different? So the CO2 laser would be able to run 10 times more power and 10 times faster. So, like I told you, 66 millimeters per second max on the long mill. Well, now we'll be shooting for 600 millimeters per second. So a little bit under, just slightly under 10 times as fast. 7 watts of optical power with the diode on the long mill. Well, we'll be shooting for 60 to 80 watts of optical power with the sealed glass tube, sealed glass CO2 laser tube, all right? So that's gonna be 10 times the power, 10 times, right? And then you don't need to take up your long mill to actually run a laser project. So imagine like the feeling we just had using this feature, using this amazing feature that saved us 40% of our time, right? Now imagine like multiples of 10, multiples of 20, right? Saving that much time on your projects. I bet you have a few projects that you'd be interested to run right now, but you know it's gonna take 6 hours, 4 hours, 3 hours. And sometimes you have the time and sometimes you don't. Hans, this will be a standalone machine. So this won't be an add-on for the long mill. This will be a standalone CO2 laser, right? So you could be running a project on your long mill, and then you could be running a separate project on your CO2 laser CNC. So that's what we are working on here at the back end. We're also working on some other stuff. Because I'm not project lead on or product lead on those projects, I won't spill the tea unless they let me know I can spill the tea. But we are working on some fun stuff. So this is not the only machine that we're working on in the background. We're also working on some other stuff. But I am product lead for the CO2 laser, so I am able to share the news there and give you at least a little bit of an update and hopefully not kind of oversell anything or kind of overpromise anything. Just tell you guys what we're doing. We're working on it. I've always wanted to work on it. You guys have heard me talking about it ever since, like, for months. Yeah, I've wanted to work on it, but obviously it takes time. It takes convincing, and it takes a certain level of effort in order to get everybody on the same page and to get everybody excited about it, because the best projects are made like when you're excited about AI CNC art. Oh, that's a good guess. Thank you, Bill, for the reminder. Everybody, if you could just do me the favor of hitting the like button if you liked it, and even if you hated it, might as well hit the like button anyways. What else are you gonna do? It's not like there's like a different button for if you dislike stuff, but don't think about it. Don't think about it too hard. Hit the like button. Share it if you're interested in CNC. Share it with any of your friends that are interested in CNCs or laser stuff. Yeah, I'm excited. As you can see, I'm very excited. But also, this is going to be a short stream, so I'm going to let you guys go. And exciting news, I just bought a place, a condo, and I will be moving this setup, this laser setup, to my place so we can have a little bit more intimate setting, you know, and a little bit more repeatable. I have to come into the office in the evening and I have to set a lot of the lights up. And obviously our guys at the marketing, they do their best to kind of have things pretty pre-set up, but it's a little bit tough to have to come in during the evening and then have to set things up and then having to go home. It's much nicer. And as you guys know, I'm a maker. I have a long mill and I like using the long mill. So it's going to be nice to have everything set up. And it's going to force me to make kind of an enclosure, which will like be good for the CO2. It'll be good for the Hamilton woodworking show that we'll be going to. And if you're going, then you can say hi to us. And it'll be good just to vent all that laser stuff out. Hans, you have the right idea, but yeah, that's why we're gonna do an enclosure and we're gonna do an exhaust system, probably to a HEPA filter and then to the outside, which will give us a lot of like product development and prototyping insight when we're doing the same for a CO2 laser. But I'll be doing it for the long mill with the diode so that I could comfortably run it in an apartment, venting out to a window through a HEPA filter. So it's the same process that we'd have to run with a CO2 laser. So it's kind of like doing early prototyping for an enclosure slash exhaust system slash filtering system anyways. So kind of 3 birds, 1 stone. Trade show, home long mill laser setup, and CO2 laser product development. That's what I like to do. So I'm going to try to prototype and have stuff working by the next time, so hopefully I can show that off to you. But if I'm not completed, then I'll just pop open Fusion 360 and you guys can help me design and design with me for the next live stream. So that is it. My name is Ikenna for CNC Labs, and you know the deal. Whether it's morning, afternoon, evening, or night, I appreciate you spending a little bit of time with me. I hope you guys all have a great night. I appreciate you all. You guys make this worth it. You guys make me excited to come into the office in the evening and chat with you guys and play with the laser. Nicholas, thank you so much. Dana, thank you. We appreciate you. Doug, thank you. Jim, thank you. Bill, thank you. Hans, thank you so much. Greg, thank you for joining us. Am I missing anybody? Am I missing anybody? John, thank you if you're still in here. Jim, thank you so much. Dieter, thank you for joining us. I think I already got Doug. I think I said Doug 3 times. Kenny, when you watch this back, I hope you feel even better by the next time you join us. And I'm very glad that you're feeling better. And I'm so happy that you came in early just to say what up. I really do appreciate that. That's awesome. You guys have a great night. And I'll catch you on LaserBeam Live, episode 30. Bye.